Hello designers, what is up? In this video, I'm going to show you a plugin called CSS Hero, which is a revolutionary way to add CSS to your WordPress website. Without any further ado, let's get into it. Let's start with the quick installation. You need to go to csshero.org. I'll leave a link to this in the description, and it's a paid plugin, so you need to get it. And based on the number of sites you wanted, just go with a single site license, and if you share it on social platforms, they'll give you one additional license. So it's kind of sweet and it's affordable too. And if you realize the power of this plugin, you'll know what I'm talking about. So I'll just close this page. I'll leave a link to the plugin site in the description. Make sure you check that out. So once you buy the plugin, download the plugin and add your website in your dashboard, you just come to plugins, add new, upload your plugin and just activate it by entering your API key. It's that simple. So that's the quick installation process. So what exactly is CSS Hero? Well, it's a live CSS editor that lets you change the property of any element on any page, post or custom post type. It can basically style any element that you see on your website. So it can be your header, it can be your footer, it can be your sidebar, it can be any other plugin as well. Whatever you see on any page, post or custom post type, you can simply use the point and click interface to basically style each and every element. If you want to style, you can also style each element separately. So it works with any theme out of the box, and it is just amazing. Best of all, you don't even have to write a single piece of CSS code to actually generate CSS for your website. So it's all done in the live editor interface. You just need to click, drag and change values. It's that simple. Well, as I told you, it can edit any page, post or custom post type. Google usually views your website as a series of pages. In fact, it can edit any page, post or custom post type that was actually designed or built with any page builders such as Elementor, Divi Builder, Beaver Builder or even your theme. So no matter what you build your website with, you can customize it with CSS Hero. It's that simple. So how do you get to CSS Hero? So here's my home page that I've actually created with Elementor. You can either click on edit and it gets you to that WordPress editing screen. So here you see a pencil icon with Customize with CSS Hero. You just click on that and it just takes you to CSS Hero interface. You can also do it in another way. So I'll just close this. So you can go to the standard WordPress editing interface and you find Customize with CSS Hero button there. You can click on that, or when you actually view your website on the front end, you also see the pencil icon. So clicking on Customize with CSS Hero, it will actually take you to the interface where you do the editing with the point and click interface. It's that easy. So getting to CSS Hero is that easy. Simply click on edit on any page, post or custom post type and click on Customize with CSS Hero, or view the page on the front end and then click the pencil icon which says Customize with CSS Hero and it loads this interface. So how does CSS Hero work? It's really simple. You just click on the element that you want to edit. So if I want to edit the logo, I'll just click on that. If I want to edit this button, I'll just click on that. It's that simple. So there are basically three interface elements that you need to know about. The side panel on the left side, and it has contextual options that will actually give you all the CSS properties that you can change, and it has three sub panels. One is the properties panel, the second one is the snippets panel, and you have another one called animation. We'll discuss about that in a bit. So this is the panel which is common for all elements. So no matter which element you click on, the options are common. And you can also make this window float anywhere across the interface. So you can actually put it wherever you want. And if you just dock it, it will be docked onto the left. So that's a neat little feature. So if you want to set it free, make the window float, just click and drag and position it wherever you want. Or if you want to dock it, it's that simple. So Here is where you select various properties that you want to change for the element that you clicked. So I just clicked on this and it will give me various options that I can change or the properties that I can change. And then there's code editor. So that will actually give you the various CSS code that's changed with CSS Hero. And then you have something called inspector. So this is really handy. A lot of beginners have trouble pointing the element's name. Well, with CSS Hero, you don't even need to know the class name of individual elements, but if you want to, you can simply click on that and it will give you the class name of the element. You can simply copy that from here. You don't even need to use Chrome Inspector. Or if you want to target this element and CSS code yourself, you can just click on add and add your element. So maybe I can say background and red, and just like that it targeted all the elements that are defined by this class. So it's that simple. So finding the name of element is just as easy as clicking the element and going to inspector. So just go to inspector, click on that, and it will give you the class name of the element. You can also target it if you want to, and this is the CSS editor. If you want to write CSS code, you can do it, but that's definitely not required. I'll show you why in a bit. So you can get class names of various elements by clicking on this. Let's go back to the standard interface. So I'll just click on home and it loads my standard interface. So what exactly does this interface have? It has something called main navigation link. Well, this is actually telling me that the element that I clicked has this particular class or this particular name. It's basically the CSS class that's actually shown when I click on the element. You can also hover over any element and it will show you the class name. So if I hover over this, it's showing that the class name of this is main navigation ULLI button. So whenever there's a dot, it's a class. You can also see that with various elements. So here, when you click on this drop down, it will show you the structure of something. What exactly is this? So when you click on an element, it will basically show you all the containers that the element is in. So when I click on this particular element, which is main navigation UL, it will show me all the containers that have this element. So basically this whole structure is made up of this. So I'll just click on this again. I'll go back here. So as I hover over each element, it's showing me the containers that the element that I clicked on is. So it will show all the containers of the element. Similarly, if you want to know the containers of this particular element, just click on that, go over here, and it will show you all the containers. Also, when you hover over that, it will highlight the element onto the right. You can see that with a model. So just like that, with the tooltip, it will show the name of the element that I'm hovering over. So just like that, you can see Elementor widget wrap onto the right. Also, the bottom panel does the same. So it's basically like the address or the DOM in technical terms. So it's the document object model, or it's showing how the element is positioned in various containers. So within the body, I have my page, within my page, I have container, and so on. And finally, I have the element that I wanted. So it's that. So this one or this one is the same. And then you have something called select or navigate. By default, when you click on an element, it selects that element. Even if it's a link or a button, it will select an element. However, if you want to just navigate, just toggle this to navigate and click on that button and or any link, and it will perform that particular action. So that's what this particular element is. So by default, it's select. Of course, when you're editing an element, you don't want to navigate, but if you want to navigate for some reason, just toggle this on and click on any link and it will follow that link. It's that simple. But with the select toggled on, even if I click on a link, it will actually show the class name of that link, because when I toggle this to select, it things that I'm trying to edit the element, and it'll show the class name, and then I can change various properties. So that's what the select and navigate toggle is all about. Next, you have an option to undo. So you can undo your last action or redo your last action, or you can see the history of various actions that you performed on this page. So this is for that, and you can simply click on that and it will take you to that particular point. So you can also clear history from here. So if you don't want any history, you can clear it from here. So there's something called checkpoints. I'll just show you this in a bit. And there's something called project. Again, we'll come back to this in a bit. And tools, you can view this page as a normal user who's not logged in. You can also style your login page. You can change fonts. And if you click on this option, it will erase all the edits that you've made on your whole website with CSS Hero. So whatever you've changed with CSS Hero will be erased or reset when you click on this. And when you click on this, it will basically exit the interface. And then here you have an editing mode. So this is basically for custom breakpoints. If you want to make edits for a particular device size or resolution, just click on this and make your edits. So that's what that particular element is. Or if you want the edits to be common across all devices, just select all devices and just make your edits. Or if you want to make your edits specific to mobile landscape, mobile portrait, so you can do that. So if you want edits on a particular device and a particular resolution, use this, or it's safe to use all devices. So that's what it is. Since you'll style basically normal elements, this may not be that useful at all. And then it will show you what you clicked and the status. So it will show you the status of the element that you clicked. So if you want to change it when you hover over it, or active when it's active, or when it's visited, you can change that, and then you can edit for that particular action. So normally when you click on a link, it will load the normal status. And if you want to change the hover state of the link, just click on that and this element turns into hover. So when a user hovers over this, you can apply particular style. So you can maybe change the font or anything. So that's what this particular element is. And the context definer is really important. So when you click on element, lot of elements have common names. For example, you can take this menu and this has a class name called main navigation UL, LI and A. Again, even this element has the same name. So by default, when I apply a property, so let's say when I change the font color to green, it actually changes the font color of all the elements that have this name. But you can change that. So if you click on this template, basically that's like a header, or maybe within the particular section or within that particular footer. If you want to change elements specific to this page but not on all pages that you edit with CSS Hero, you can select that here. But if you want to make an edit specific to an element, you can choose this. So that's what this is. So you can normally go for this, and as you make your edits, you can see what you've edited from the code editor. And in case you want to cancel all the edits, just click on cancel and it will erase all your edits that you've been editing so far. And of course, you can click on history and jump back to any point you want. And so let's say I just clicked on this element. I'll just hide this for now. So let's say I change the typography color to this. So I'll just add a checkpoint to this. I'll just call it point 1. So checkpoint is like my reference. So if I want to roll back to a particular point with particular properties, I can simply save it as a checkpoint. So now that I've added this to checkpoint, let's go ahead, click on this and make few other changes. I just changed the color to red. I'll change the font as well. Maybe I'll just go with a random one. So the font is changed for that. And let's actually increase the font size. Oops, that's too big. So let's actually increase the font size a bit so it looks better, and I'll just style it. And let's add another checkpoint. So let me call this point 2. I'll just click save. Okay, now that I have 2 checkpoints, I'll then make few other changes. So I'll maybe change it to white color. I'll change the font again. Maybe I'll pick this one. I'll add a text decoration to it. I'll change the letter spacing a bit. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I want to add, and I'll again save another checkpoint. So I'll just call it point 3. I'll just click on save. And now my 3 checkpoints are saved here. So okay, now that I've made a lot of changes, let's say I want to roll back to checkpoint 2. So whatever edits I have at that particular point will be rolled back. So from here, I'll just open on checkpoints and I'll click on point 2, and it will remove all the edits from the point 3 and put all the edits that I've made at this point. So it will load all the properties that I had for checkpoint 2. So let me click on point 1, and then it will roll back all the changes and apply all the settings that I had at this point. So that's what it is. So you can add as many checkpoints as you want. So in case you want to make sure that you have multiple versions of the same design, just click and add few checkpoints. And then if you don't like any of the designs, just roll back to the checkpoint that you actually want. So that's what this checkpoint is all about. And then project, as you make changes, it will show you various selectors. So it will show you this theme selectors. And if you want to add a selector to target a particular element, you can add that. You don't need to do that. Project variables. So project variables, you can define commonly used values that you want to reuse. So simply by using this variable, you can use that particular value instead of entering it manually. And project overview, as you make edits to each and every element, all those edits will be shown, and for each element it will show what kind of edit is made. So now that we have studied all the interface elements, let's go ahead and make some changes. Let's start with the menu items. So I'll just click on menu. I'll go to typography. So I have a lot of options for each element. So I can change the background of the element. And there's one more neat little feature. When you click on the background element, it shows you few colors to pick from. It will show you few material design colors that you can choose from. It will also show you the page colors. So it will extract the colors that are used across the page and it will present you those colors. It's really neat. So you can see the theme elements being used here. So just like that. It's really amazing, isn't it? You can also pick from the color wheel if you want to. So just choose any random color if you want to. So once you change the property, you can also reset the property from here. Or when you change a property, you also have an element to make it important. So when you make it important, even if the theme is not allowing you to style the element, this will let you override any theme changes or any restrictions that are stopping you from styling this element. Most of the time you don't have to use this, but you can use it as a precautionary measure. It's really not needed, and don't pay much attention to this. And you can also have a toggle called large screens only. So it'll just set this color only for desktop devices. So that's what this large screens only option is. So I'll just reset this property. You can also set a background image, or you can pick a linear gradient from in here, or you can add an image From Unsplash, it has integration with Unsplash, so you can pick background image of any element. As I told you, CSS, every element in CSS is treated equally. So CSS doesn't distinguish between various elements. Your page builders and themes do for styling purposes. Everything is an element in CSS. So anything will have a background color or background element. So you can simply pick that and choose that. You can also add an image. You can also choose from Unsplash, or you can choose from one of your uploads. So just like that, it added background to that. It looks horrible, but that's what that is. Of course, you generally add backgrounds to your settings. Again, if you don't want any of your changes, when you click on cancel, it'll roll back to the last published version. So if you saved and published a lot of times, it'll cancel all the edits you made in this session and it'll roll back to the last published version. But if you want to pinpoint it to a more particular session, you can pick from one of the sessions here. Of course, you can clear your history from here. You can also clear previous sessions history. So just like that, it will clear all the history if you don't want to. So let's actually change the typography for this. So I'll just change the font color, pick this. I'll pick from the page color. I'll just pick this. And let's change the font family to Times New Roman. Let's change the font weight a bit. Font size, I think it can be a bit more. Okay, I think it's too much. So let's change that. Let's change the font style to normal. It was italic before. I'll just change it to normal. Text transform. You can either capitalize it or make all letters go uppercase, or you can go lowercase. So every letter in Word will be a lowercase. So you have a lot of text transforms. You can also have any of the text decorations. Let me increase the font size so that you can clearly see it. So you can have an underline, overline, strike through, or anything. You can also align the text if you want to, but it's already positioned within the container, so you're not able to align the property or the text. You can also adjust the letter spacing. As you increase the letter spacing, you can see what's going on in here. Let's go back. You can also increase word spacing, so it will increase the spacing between words instead of letters, so that's really handy. You can also add a text shadow. So I'll just click on one. You can choose the shadow color and it will add that neat little shadow to it. So you can change the orientation of the text shadow. You can position it wherever you want using the drag and drop interface. You can see the text shadow here. It's kind of like box shadow, but applied exclusively to the text. So I'll just, anyway, we'll study these properties with other elements because it won't be clear from this element. Spacings, it's not advised to adjust spacings since you've already built your page with page builders, so you won't be using spacings or anything else. And if you want to style the lists, if you have any list, this is the setting that's really helpful. And there are few other properties such as box shadow, float visibility. So if I click hidden, all the elements that I clicked will be hidden and they won't be shown. If you want them to be visible, just click on visible. So if you want to make an element hidden, just click on this. For some reason, without deleting it, you can do it with CSS. However, it's not advised, especially if they're links. Google will think that you're trying to scam users. So you can also reduce the opacity of that particular element. You can play with that and you can see how opacity is affecting the visibility. And there are a few other options for each setting. Okay, now that we've edited the menu element, let's go ahead and pick something else. I'll just pick this heading or maybe this image. So I'll just click on the image and you can see the image is selected, or you simply can hover over this. I don't even have to bother about the class name or anything. I'll just add a border to the image. So when I clicked here, nothing happens because the border width is set to 0. Let me increase the border width, and it just adds an image frame if you want the border on the bottom as well. And just like that, it added a neat little image frame. You can also choose the type of border for border bottom, border right. So for this, maybe I can have a border of dotted and dashed. You can see how that's changing for the image. You can also change the border radius. So when you change the border radius, the image becomes rounded, and when you increase it, the maximum limit here is 100, but you can go even more than that, or you can simply type your value. Let's go with 300 pixels, and you can see it's made the element into an ellipse. If you further increase the border radius, it will make the element as a circle. So that's what the border radius is. Of course, if you want to just make changes to one element, such as border left, and see how that's affecting. So only the left side of the element is changed, so you can achieve some asymmetric designs using this property. Again, you can change border radius on any side, and we'll leave the properties as is. So I'll just click on this again. Again, I have all the properties. Since it's text, it's natural to tweak or play with the typography settings. Of course, you can pick from any of the Google fonts. You can change the font weight, change the font size, line height, make it italic, or capitalize it. When you capitalize it, the first letter of every word becomes a capital letter. If you make it uppercase, every letter or lowercase. You can also add a text decoration. You can also adjust the alignment of the text, as you can see here, or reset this property simply by clicking this. Then you have letter spacing and various other properties. So when you click on the snippets button, it will give you a lot of built-in snippets. So a lot of CSS functions or utility code is added in here. So if you want to set a text shadow, or if you want to style your buttons, or if you want to make the text a gradient, you can simply click the text and then go to snippets. You can preview that, how that's gonna look, and as I hover over this eye icon, you can see my text turning into a gradient. Watch it again. Let me zoom that for you. I'll just hover over this and you can see my text turning into a gradient, this one. So you can simply apply the gradient and you can pick the first color. You can pick the first color and second color, and you can specify direction to top left, to top bottom, to right, to and all that. Of course, we've done this with CSS code, but you just don't have to pick the element or do anything. Just point the element and choose the gradient that you want. It's that easy. So you can add dividers or basically any util functions. So without writing any code, you can pick one of the built-in snippets from in here. That's what these snippets are. And animation will add entrance animations to any element that you want. And of course, all your page builders have some sort of entrance animation, so you won't mostly be using it. And finally, if you want to add code yourself, you don't even need to know the class names. You can simply click add and then add code. So let's see. I'll just add a test snippet. And just like that, you can add any code that you want. And we do a lot of CSS code on this channel, but this plugin just simplified that by using the point and click interface. So it's really powerful. Why is that? Let me show that with few examples. As you all know, I've built my header and footer with Astra theme, and then the page that I'm currently editing, it's my home page with Elementor page builder. But that really doesn't matter. That's because CSS Hero can edit anything that the user can see. So any page, post or custom post type that you have on your website can be edited. No matter how you created the content, it can be your page, it can be your theme, it can be any plugin. Whatever you see on your website can be edited with CSS Hero. That's what we did. So it doesn't matter if I really create it with the page builder, theme or anything else. It's really handy. So that's one practical application. And the second one is that it allows you to find the class name without actually clicking on anything. So you just click on element, it shows you the class name, CSS class name. And this has been a challenge for a lot of beginners. So with this, it's simple. Just click on that element and it will show you the class name. You can also target it in the inspector if you want to. So knowing class names is a big deal for beginners. So that's one application, and it can make global edits. So when you're editing your header in a page, you're actually editing the header template, but not the header on the page itself. So your header, your footer, your sidebar and your common areas that you edit are actually edited across your website. So wherever you see this particular element, unless and until you change the context to only this template or on this page or element, this particular style will be applied across the website. So this is actually my home page. So what I'll do is that I'll just change the background of the container. Let's go ahead and change the background of the container. So somewhat reference color. Okay, it's ugly. We'll actually change the background of the whole Astra container. So that's the background that I've set from here using CSS Hero. It's just a reference. So I just saved it, and this particular setting will be applied across the website. So no matter which page I view, the header's background will be changed because the context definer here is normal. So wherever I see this particular template or this particular element, these settings will be applied. Let's go ahead and verify that. So here's another page on my website, which is a category page of interviews. And as I told you, when you make an edit for a common thing, it will be applied across all those elements across your website. So even in my interviews page, it's applied. So it actually took this particular setting and applied that across all the elements that are named with Astra container. So whichever is an Astra container will have this style. So whatever has this style, conversely, is my Astra container. And that's what a normal context would do. And let's go ahead and view another page. So I'll just click on templater page, and again all the Astra containers will have a background of this because that's the context. So when you're changing the property of an element, you're actually editing it across the whole website. If anything else on any page, post or custom post type has this name, and when the context definer is normal, these styles will be applied across the website, but not just the page, which is why you have the context definer in the first place. So let's go ahead and click on only this template. Let's save and publish this, and let's refresh this page, and let's see what that would do. Well, literally no effect on my page. That's because the class that we picked, which is the Astra container, is not the class that we are supposed to edit. So let's go ahead and let's change this. So I'll just go back to Astra container. I'll just reset this property, and let's actually pick something that says main header container, because it's saying that this container just belongs to the header. So I'll just click on this. I'll try to change its background to again purple. Again, that's not entirely covered, but anyway, we'll just change it, save and publish. Now let's refresh this page and see what that effect would be. As you can see, when I changed my element to main header container, it just applied those changes across my website to just that particular element. So it says main header container. That means this element is actually targeting the container of my main header, but not any other element such as Astra container. So it's basically hit and trial. You can target individual elements, so don't worry about that. Let's actually view another page on my website. I'll just click on interviews page, and again, even on this page, it just targets the class that I wanted to. So by whichever class has this name, or in other words, the common elements across your website or the global elements such as your header, your footer, or your sidebar that you edit on one page with CSS Hero are affected across your website. Again, if any other element has a similar name such as this Elementor heading, even that element would be applied. Even that change would be applied across the website. Again, normal would apply the changes to this particular class or this particular element wherever found across website. So that's like global way of doing things. On this template limits the edits to the particular element or the item that you're dealing with. So in this case, it's limited to header. If you make edit specific to footer, it's basically limited to that. And then only on this page would limit the edits to that particular page you're editing, and clicking only this element would limit edits to the particular element that you clicked. So since it's point and click, you can click this, and if you use the context definer to only this element, you're simply targeting this particular element, or in this case, I'm targeting this 12. This was actually built with Elementor timer widget, and it won't allow you to target individual numbers, but with CSS Hero you can. So I just made this to only this element. I'll just change the typography and watch what happens. So it just changes the color of 12. It's not possible with Elementor. Of course, you can do that by writing CSS code, but with CSS Hero and context definer, you can just do that. Then again, I can pick this. If I change the color of this to something, it affects the color of each and every element. And then overrides the individual preference. Let's roll back. I'll just click this, change the context definer to again only this element. I'll pick a different color for this, and I'll pick a different color for this particular element as well. I'll just go to typography. I'll just pick this. So sorry, I forgot to change the context definer again. I'll just click this element again, context definer to only this element, and change the typography to this, or maybe yellow. So you can target individual elements which are not possible with Elementor. So you can simply click and change those properties by using the context definer of CSS Hero. And again, if you choose only this page, and if you pick a typography for one particular element, it will target all the elements with this class name. So all the elements have similar class name. So it's actually targeting all those particular elements. You can verify that from in here. You can also say only this template. Again, it will just target this particular timer widget, and it won't affect any other timer widget that you would add on the page. That's what only this template would do. And you saw what only the element would do. So there's a lot of possibility that you can do with CSS Hero. And I think it's by far the best way to add CSS to your website. And the way it works is that it adds a little file to your themes folder. So it's actually kind of dependent on your theme. It doesn't matter what theme you have. When you switch that, all these changes will be gone. And when you switch back to that particular theme, all your changes will remain intact. So you don't have to worry about it. So this is CSS Hero, and this is just a beginning. We'll be making a lot of tutorials on this. Stay tuned, and there'll be a playlist called CSS Hero tutorials. Make sure you check that from time to time. I'll talk to you in the next video. Peace. And that's it for now, and hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure you give a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And if you need anything else, don't hesitate to ask. I'm ready to help you. Catch you in the next video. Peace.